Our next speaker will keep the energy up. He is an experienced Ironman triathlete. Jeff Crosby is CEO and founder of 3X Equity. He's going to be talking about the results of a 2021 Advisor Transition Survey, but that shortchanges what he's going to be talking about. He's going to be sharing a lot of key and interesting insights with us. So please join me in welcoming Jeff to the stage.
Thank you, appreciate it. So I am a Barron's advisor, so I come at 3X Equity with a little different perspective. It's an outside business that I created, that we own. So I get to talk to advisors every week, almost every day. I run my own practice, so I really get a good feel for what advisors are saying in the industry. So what we did is we did this survey, sent out an email, correspondence. We worked hard at it to about 20,000 advisors or so that have transitioned the past 5 years. And we wanted to ask them several questions to learn about what the transition was like, why did they transition, et cetera. So that's what the survey is based on. And we got over 500 responses. So the data that I'm giving you is based on that information. So what I wanted to do is introduce a couple people from my team. Mark, where are you? Mark is the gentleman for 3X Equity that he helps put together our content for AdvisorHub TV, the Financial Advisor Show, and Advisors Moving. Lisa Johnston here, stand up Lisa, give him a wave. So she's pretty much the front end. She helps identify the advisors, what channel they want to what channel they're in, what channel they may want to go to, and then she puts them in front of one of us to talk to the advisor to determine what's best for them. So advisors come out to our site anonymously, so we're not an outbound service. So they give us their information anonymously, their revenue, their AUM, and we talk to them. That's how we get our leads. We get multiple leads from advisors coming to our site. So we try to be a consultant, rather than a recruiter. As was mentioned, I do Ironmans. I've done 24 of them. I've qualified for Hawaii 9 times, and so we get after it. Not really, but thank you. So, but we get after it. So, we talk about all these advisors and growing. You know what? If you don't have passion to grow, this is all for naught. You got to have passion for your client. You got to have passion for your business. You got to want to be able to grow, to be able to implement what several people have talked about today. And it doesn't matter what channel you're in. Pick any channel. If you're motivated to grow, you're going to be able to grow in that channel. So we get asked, what's it like to transition? And several of you know, speaking to the what, Tony, is it millions of advisors, that is sign in virtually, millions? So to those advisors, it's tough to move. You can get beat up. So I kind of equate, moving potentially, or for an advisor considering moving, getting inundated with these calls, a little bit like the start of an Ironman. And because oftentimes we'll get asked the question, what's it like to do an Ironman? What's the hardest part to do an Ironman? And it's typically the swim start. So you see me here, I'm there in spandex. Tony and I talked this past week. I don't know if you know or not, last Tuesday, Wall Street Journal had an article on how men are starting to wear spandex. Tony asked me about it. He says, hey, if he does an Ironman, can 3X Equity sponsor his spandex outfit, et cetera. So Tony, we'll talk more about that. But here's what advisors are thinking about what's going to happen when they open up the kimono to say, I might be considering leaving my broker-dealer or my
name is Wes. Triathlon swim starts can be pretty brutal at times. I've always had the motto that you need to train the way you race, and that's why I'm trying to simulate what it's like in a race situation.
That's what advisors, one of the things they're concerned about. So in this report, what we did is the questions we asked, what was it like to move? Did you get what you were promised? How much of your AUM were you able to move? These are some of the common questions that are asked. Well, if you can see here in the graph, it wasn't the biggest, fattest check. Okay? Why advisors moved was primarily because of higher payout, better technology, and a better cost of doing business. Now, what we don't know is that advisor going to take that money and reposition it into their business to grow, or are they going to take that money and spend it themselves? But these are the reasons that advisors move. Okay? I don't know if that's a surprise to any of you. The next question we asked, when you move, did the firm that you moved to keep their promises? Most of the advisors said, yeah, they delivered. And that, and the reason I think that happens is that, like professionals from Frank that you'll hear from Elite Consulting, other recruiting consulting firms like ourselves, we try to really help educate the advisor. We try to work with the firm, work with the candidate to make sure they're being that who they're moving to, they're gonna implement what was told. So most advisors that are promised certain things, it happens. So to those advisors looking at moving, you know what? It happens. You're not surprised when you move. Another important question that we get asked is, or if the concern is, how much is my AUM going to move? So 85% of the advisors' AUM moves when they move from one firm to another. So I got a big book, and just real quickly, where I'm maybe different than other Barron's advisors, is I'm not a super OSJ. I'm a single producer. I got a team, a big team around me that supports me, but I've been the rainmaker. So I don't have AFAs or junior advisors under me. So, I would have a big book. If you move, I'm concerned about if all my assets are going to move. Well, to the advisors that are thinking of moving, if the job is done well, 85% of those assets are going to move. The other question that when we talk to advisors is, how many offers did you get? How many people did you talk to? How many packages did you receive? And you know what? If you have someone out there who's had 8 or 10 packages, you probably don't want them, because what's happened is you haven't qualified that person well enough. You haven't really understood what their goals are. So about over 70% of the advisors that actually moved had 2 different offers from different firms. Probably the ideal number is 3. To educate the advisor, to understand the value proposition, the compensation. So to those advisors out there thinking of moving, you probably want about 3 different offers and from 3 different good firms. So then the other question is did you have any regrets moving? I don't know if that's a surprise to you. That was a bit of a surprise to me. Most advisors that moved didn't have any regrets. So most advisors working with a good consulting firm did their homework, asked the right questions, and they're looking forward, not backwards. So what should this survey mean to advisors? The survey really should mean, or the result of the survey, is you're a free agent. You've built your book, and you can move. Okay? You've got tremendous amount of equity in your practice, in your book. The other part of it is that most of your assets are going to move. That's pretty good. And if done right, most of your assets probably will move in 60 days or less. The other thing that you should learn is that, you probably should get about 3 different offers. The other thing that we should also know in the firm that we're trying to recruit them into is most advisors are really wanting to try to run their business, their practice more like a business. Less cost, a little higher payout so that they can recruit right back into their business. The other thing that Brian mentioned that I thought was interesting, in fact, I was just sitting here, is that while we're working and whatnot, I get this email that came in from a client. And, so many of us are talking about what's it like to go out and acquire another practice. So I haven't really acquired practices. I grow my book organically. And the way I built my book is Microsoft hired me many years ago to be the financial advisor for their executives. And how I got that is that I found out who the hiring person was in that role. I found out what gym they were a member of. I found out what they did in that gym, and I found out where they rented their locker in that gym. And I wound up renting my locker becoming a member of that gym, playing basketball with that person to make sure I passed them the ball enough, and I rented my locker right next to that person. So I grew my book, organically. So if you go out and buy a book, it's going to be expensive, and there's a lot of liability, versus maybe really concentrating on growing your book organically. So as I'm sitting here during this workshop today, this client that was referred to me says, I completely trust you, Jeff, and I'm so lucky to have you as my advisor. You've done this for hundreds of clients. You make me feel as though I'm your only client, and that is probably why you're so highly rated, liked, and well-respected. I feel like I've hit the jackpot with you. Your way of thinking about things, you're a psychologist, financial advisor, you're a great listener, but you are firm in what you believe, and you'll make strong recommendations, which I really appreciate. So that's about myself, my team. But as advisors out there, that's what you got to do. You got to service your clients. Because think about that client that was referred to me, the amount of money I'm managing of that client now. That client is probably going to refer 3 to 5 people to me. And those 3 to 5 people that are referred to me by this client is going to refer probably another 2 to 3 people. I'm going to pick up a bunch of organic assets because myself and my team did a really good job with that client, and that doesn't cost me any money. I'm not going to a bank to buy a practice. I'm just building my book organically. So for those advisors listening, you know, and I don't want you to raise your hand or ask you this question, but do you think that person to your left or your right has kept their New Year's resolution from last year? Probably not. If you want to grow and market your book, you got to go to bed thinking about it. You got to wake up thinking about it. You got to have a strategy how you're going to grow your book. You got to be very specific in how you're going to grow your book organically. So for those advisors out there listening, here's an idea. Rather than renting what we're here in New York, rather than renting a suite to the Yankees or the Mets or the Knicks for your clients, maybe what's a better idea? Why don't you rent that suite for the center of influences in your natural market? And invite those center of influences to that suite and leverage those center of influences to get your clients, to refer you new clients, rather than you bringing your clients. So who could the center of influence be? What happens when you get a divorce? Most likely one of those spouses chooses another advisor. So network within your practice divorce attorneys. What about recruiters? We're up here in the Seattle area. So recruiters are recruiting people into Facebook, Salesforce, Google, Amazon. Lock yourself into a good recruiter that brings in executives from the outside. So a suite with a center of influences. What about that person that sells the top umbrella insurance? Why umbrella insurance? Through Chubb. Well, because people that get umbrella insurance through Chubb have a lot of money. So establish a relationship with that top insurance agent in your area. Leverage your centers of influences to grow your practice. And there's no risk or very little risk except waking up thinking about it, going to bed thinking about it, and being intentional with their clients. The other part that I would ask is, what does this mean to broker-dealers? How expensive is it to go out and bring in a candidate? It's expensive. It's expensive for you being here. It's expensive for your recruiters. It's expensive. So why don't we take care of our own house and develop our advisors inside so we don't give them a reason to leave? Richard Branson has a great quote. And I've tried to live this quote I've tried to live it, and it just became resonating to me not too long ago. He says, make sure you create opportunities that your employees can leave, but create an environment that they will never leave. And the way they'll never leave is understand those advisors' goals within your infrastructure. Help them reach their goals. What are their goals? So spend time, spend resources developing your team. It's so much less costly than going out recruiting a new team. So develop your team in-house and then give yourself an ability to go recruit outside. So 2 years ago, we were talking about, as already mentioned, robo. Today, we're talking about cryptocurrency. What are we going to be talking about going forward? So what's the next thing going forward? So I think that as we're thinking about it, the more that we can develop our advisors in-house, give them tools to work with, grow their business, it's going to help that broker-dealer. So again, for the advisors out there, what we do here at 3X Equity is we know the space really well. We try to be a consultant to you. And frankly, I try to encourage the advisor to oftentimes stay at their existing firm. I try to make the point that it's not better where they're going to. Maybe they should try to figure out how to stay at their firm, talk to their team, and because it's expensive to move, it's hard to move. But if you're one of those advisors that want to leave, that your existing firm doesn't meet your needs, then I feel like us at 3X Equity is an expert in the industry. There are others like Frank and at Elite Consulting and others, but we're one of them that can help you move from what we think is perhaps a better opportunity for you. We'd like to make that available to you. Okay, so thank you very much.